An 11-year-old locked out of his house. I would think, and maybe this just says where we are as a society, what happened to a neighbor saying, oh, you got locked out? Do you want me to bring you some water? You want me to call your parents? You want to stay over here, and hang out in my house or my garage or whatever until your parents get home? What happened to that?
Well, that's only one of the problems with this horrifying story. Yes, there was a neighbor or somebody coming by, certainly called the police. First of all, it's crazy that we call the police on any time that we see a child who is unsupervised, as if they are obviously in danger, when we happen to be living in the safest times in human history. The Washington Post just had a headline, there's never been a safer time to be a kid in America. Wow. So first of all, it's crazy to call the cops. Secondly, the cops come, the kid's playing basketball. The account against the parents with this, that he didn't have any food, which is true because the mom always gave him a snack for after school. He had already eaten it. They said he had no water. In fact, there was a hose if he wanted, if he was desperately thirsty and dehydrated, he certainly could have drunk from the hose. And that he had no bathroom back there, which is true. He didn't have a bathroom, so he had to hold it in, just like you have to hold it in if you're taking the AP test in chemistry and it's an hour and a half. So it's not the end of the world, but to act all the time as if anytime a child is unsupervised, something dramatically bad is going to happen to him, dehydration, abduction, I don't know, death by basketball. He was playing basketball in the backyard, is crazy. And what to Child Protective Services credit, and it's not actually called Child Protective Services down there, it's called DCS or something like Department of Children's Services. They were going to give the kids, there was the 11-year-old and actually his younger brother who's 4. They were going to give the kids right back to the parents. But because the parents were then being thrown in jail for the night and charged with third-degree felony neglect, then they couldn't give the kids back because there were no parents to give the kids back to. And then that kicked in the whole, okay, now we've taken the kids away, now we have to find them a placement. And it ended up being a month before the parents were allowed to be reunited with their kids back at the house. Right,
and they took the 40-year-old because the parents had been charged with that, and they said, well, you can't have your younger one because you're charged with this for the older one. Now this, from what I read, they were put into handcuffs, the parents were. They were strip searched, fingerprinted, and held overnight in jail, and it was a whole month before their sons were able to come home, and it was only after the eldest begged the judge to give him back. This sounds like this hurt the kids more than him staying home for 90 minutes because he got locked out.
It's also ironic. I mean, we all know, it's not that every foster care parent is bad. I salute foster care parents for taking children in, but we all know that the chances of something worse happening in foster care than certainly in the home of a loving parent who just happened to be late one day getting home, there's just no comparison. Obviously, the odds are far better with the parents than with in any kind of foster care. What happened is when they were having a hearing to determine whether the foster care should continue, the lawyer for the parents and the prosecution kept going into the judge's chamber, and then they would come out every couple minutes, and the lawyer would tell the parents what was going on. And the kids were sitting there too, and finally the boy, he's 11, he heard what was going on, and he said, can I possibly talk to the judge? Wow. And the lawyer said to him, well, are you going to tell the truth? Yes. And do you have enough courage to do this? And the kid said, yes. Yeah. I think he was pretty courageous. And we don't know what he said, but he went back to the judge, and when the judge came out later, he granted the parents their children back.
Wow, this story. And we got about 30 seconds left. It is resolved for now, or no, they're still in court?
No. Right now, the civil case against them is resolved. There's no more Child Protective Services thing against them. They agreed that they would never let their child play in the backyard again unsupervised, which is a crazy thing to have to agree to, but they did in order to get their children back. But there's still that felony charge of neglect that they are facing. And right now, the judge has ordered their lawyer and the prosecution to try to talk it out between themselves and decide it in the next couple of days or weeks, and that will be the end of that, I hope.